Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macie Renae, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm so excited that you're with me this morning. And I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in forever because I have been recording episodes so far ahead of time that I'm really just catching back up on, maybe recording something the day before. And I kind of like that. I mean, I like when I'm productive and have several episodes going out ahead of time, but I also feel like I miss talking to you guys. So sometimes waiting until, quote unquote, the last minute is much more fun because I feel like I get to have like a full-on conversation with you guys and that you're right here with me because you're going to hear the episode super soon. So anyways, I wanted to talk about what is coming up. So if you're listening to this, it is urgent. If you're wanting to attend a free upcoming webinar, there will be an email going out about that today and actually probably every day this week. So if you are on my email list and you're like emails are not your thing, just know that after you get the initial information, if you don't want to open the rest, don't open the rest. But I need to be able to send emails every single day for the people who are maybe not like you and don't always check their emails. There was once upon a time where I had like 20,000 unopened emails. I'm that person that stresses people out. But since being a business owner, I check much more frequently, and I actually have my business email is always sorted through every single day, first thing in the morning, but every other email it's hit or miss. So there will be emails going out every day this week to remind people to make sure that they have the information. And if you're late to the party, I am doing a free webinar called 5 Skills for Winning the War Against Yourself. Okay, so the way that you register for that is 1, you can go to the link in the show notes. I will be sure to include it, and you need to get on that private email list. On that list is where I'm going to be sending all of the webinar details, the time, everything that you can expect, okay? So you'll want to make sure that even if you're already on my main email list, that is not going to be where you're going to find the webinar information, okay? So make sure you go to either the link in my show notes and click and sign up for the webinar list, or you can go to macierenae.com. And it should pop up immediately if you haven't already been on my website, and you clicked off of it. So you can also go to my social media, like Instagram. The link is in my bio. And so we're going to be discussing, again, 5 skills for winning the war against yourself. So if you ever feel like you really struggle with your mind and your emotions, this is for you. I'm also going to be teaching a concept from the Equip Society, and I'm really excited about that. I am very much a visual learner, so whenever I am coaching and teaching, I like visuals, and I think you're really going to enjoy this free webinar. There will not be a replay that is up for forever, okay? So I think there's going to be a replay sent out, but you'll only have maybe 72 hours of access to watch it. So just be mindful of that if you're wanting to show up, do your best to be there live. But if you can't, mark your calendar and make sure that if it's something that you're wanting to listen to or watch, that you're reminded of that, because I know life can be a little crazy busy. But basically, how to know if this webinar is something for you to attend is if you ever say, like, I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing any of it. I know what I need to be doing, but I can't get myself to do the things. If you have that story in your brain, you'll want to be on this webinar. So just pause this podcast really quick before you forget. Make sure you go get on the list so that you don't miss any of the emails that will contain the details. And for those of you that are not big email checkers, make sure you check your email for the notifications. And if you have any problems, be sure to reach out to me before Thursday. It will take place Thursday, 9/22/22. So September 22nd, 2022. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what it means when we're showing up in our solid self and what it means when we're showing up in our pseudo self. I wish that I could remember exactly what book I read this in years ago. It was probably at the very start of my personal development journey. So not even my coaching journey, but like back when I was in relationship marketing and I was introduced to the world of personal development and self-help. So this was 8 or so years ago. I read a book. I do not remember the name or who it was, but I remember the concept of them teaching solid self and pseudo self. And it resonated with me so much because maybe this is you as well right now. But back in the day, I used to be a serial people pleaser. I totally ignored my own mental and emotional health to make sure that everybody else in my life was good and they were okay. So even if it was at my own expense, and often it was still like this addiction to people pleasing, because if you're a people pleaser, the thing about it is a lot of times let's rewind that a little bit. If you're not a people pleaser, you really do a better job at handling the emotions of other people who are going to be disappointed, because you don't want to disappoint yourself, right? It'd be more disappointing to disappoint yourself. But if you are a people pleaser, you typically struggle with the way that you're going to feel when the person that you maybe decide not to people please, whenever they have a reaction. And so you fear their reaction and how they'll feel, and you really feel how you will feel based on how they feel. So that's a mouthful, right? Let's see if you can follow that. But that's kind of what happens is when we're people pleasing, we're just truly kind of terrified of our own emotions that we're going to experience based on the other person's reaction if we tell them no or if we're honest. So I wanted to give you the breakdown of, what it means to show up in your solid self, so you can see if that's how you're showing up in your life, or what it means to show up as your pseudo self, so you can see if that is how you're showing up in your life. Back in the day, I was a lot of times in my pseudo self, and it was not fun. It just wasn't a fun place to be. So I think that if you can kind of get this idea in your brain and download it into your brain, you can ask yourself in a moment-to-moment basis how you're showing up and if you like the way that you're showing up. Okay, so our solid self is who we are when we're living in our truth. Okay, it's when we show up transparent. It's when we show up authentic, and it's when we let people see us for who we are. We're more open, we're raw, and we're vulnerable. So it's really like the mask is removed. Here is who I am. Hello world, see me. And I'm either for you or I'm not. Okay, and I know that back in the day, I wanted to be for everyone. I wanted everybody to love me, right? I wanted everybody to like me. Sometimes I still get stuck in that a little bit, and I think the hardest part sometimes of being an entrepreneur is knowing you're not going to be for everyone. It's like the moments whenever you get on your email list and you realize people have unsubscribed, and you're like, oh oh my God, what did I say? Did I say the wrong thing? Right? Like your brain will go there. Or I remember, and I think I've talked to you guys about this on the podcast. I remember when I got my first, one person in 3 years has left like a 2-star review. And I remember reading like 50 5-star reviews. But there was this one person that left a 2-star review, and their comment was, "She talks too much in the beginning. We don't care. Get straight to the content." And I can laugh about it now, but oh my God, when I read that, I was devastated. I remember thinking like, I'm never going to talk in the beginning of my podcast ever again, because clearly it's frustrating. But then I got to thinking like, one, I'm not going to be for everybody. I like talking to my audience and giving them life updates. I feel like it's more personable, not to just come talk at you, but kind of like talk with you. I pretend like you're all in a room with me when I'm recording the podcast. And so I wouldn't just like sit down in a room and just start talking. I would literally like warm up the room and, kind of give you life updates or a little bit about me. So I got to thinking, and I'm like, I'm not going to change the way that I do things because one person vocalized being upset about it. Like there are literally like 2 million podcasts in the world. I'm not going to be for everyone, right? But initially it did make me want to shrink and change things about the way that I did things because I really thought about their opinion. Okay. So our solid self is really just being who we are and stepping into that and not really caring what other people are thinking about who we are or what we're doing. And we feel very good in that, really solid. And it doesn't come from, I need to prove anything. It doesn't come from a nasty place. It doesn't come from anger or ego. It's really, truly like, in my spirit, in my soul, this is who I am. And, I can kind of like love everyone regardless. But for me, like, this is who I am. And I understand not everybody else is going to feel the same way. Okay. So that's a little bit about your solid self. If you're really showing up authentically in who you are. And another way to really see if this is you is if you don't feel like you have to be anybody different or any different way to hang out with different groups of people. Okay, so if you have different friend groups and you feel like with this friend group, I can be myself, but with this friend, I feel like I have to keep up with them or I have to be something I'm not. That means that there is a part of you that's not fully showing up in your solid self. There are little tiny, even microscopic pieces that want to fit in or want to be loved or want to be liked, or you don't want to rock the boat, etc., etc. Okay, so that brings me into explaining a little bit about our pseudo self. Our pseudo self is when we water ourselves down based on who we are around, okay? It's when we hold back and we don't say what we're thinking, and we honestly fear what others' responses may be. So how to know that you're in this pseudo self is that you will feel a lot of times energetically drained because you're not showing up as your most authentic self. And so to put on this facade is very exhausting. And with that being said, I want to share with you other ways this shows up because it's not just friend groups, okay? It's not just like you'll feel energetically drained if you're one way with one friend and a different way with another friend. It's actually whenever you're showing up beyond your capacity. So for instance, I have had so many consults recently where if I swear to you guys, they could have been almost identical consults, like with what people are going through. Like I joke, but I'm like, is it the moon? Is it like retrograde or something? Because every single consult I've had, most of them have talked about the exact same things. And another part of that too is that I tend to attract people who are currently in the place that I was in years ago, right? You attract the people that you're able to help and you're able to serve. So I never find it odd whenever I'm on a consult and people are talking about things and we have almost exact backgrounds or similarities because I'm like, oh, of course that they're drawn to me. Like I understand them. I get them. They know that I can help them, that kind of thing. But what I was saying with that is that I've had several consults where people have said, I feel so depressed and so heavy. I don't even know what I need in my life right now. I'm beyond drained. And I've told every single one of them, I know exactly where you're coming from. When I did my consult with my coach, I remember saying two things to her. She asked me the question, what do you think you're needing? Okay. And I had for anybody new here, I had been in therapy for 17 years. I took a 1-year break and then I met a life coach, okay, who I ended up working with. But at the time when we were just on a consult together, she said, what do you think you need? And I laughed and I joked, but I was like, I think I need a good swift kick in the ass. And then she was like, she laughed with me, but she was like, well, no, but really, like, of course I will lovingly coach you and, maybe kick your ass a little bit. But she was like, I also want to know deeply, like, what do you feel like you need? And I felt like I could cry on the consult because I remember saying, honestly, I don't even know what I need. Like, I am so overwhelmed. I take care of everybody else. I people please. I don't even know, like the only way that I could describe it to her was say, I don't even know up from down, left from right, which may not make any sense to you, but what it meant for me is I don't even know how to formulate a thought right now. I don't even know how to tell you what I'm needing in my life. I don't even know where to begin. Like, I truly need you to prompt me with questions because my brain feels fried. I feel that disconnected from myself. I feel that disconnected from my emotions. I literally don't even know what I need. I almost need someone to evaluate me and tell me where we should begin. And that was the truth. And I feel like that has been every consult that I have been on in the last probably 3 weeks where, there's this heavy feeling. And so I haven't said it in this language, but I really attribute this to pseudo self, where you're so energetically drained because you're trying to be the best mom, the best, wife, the best father, the best caregiver, the best employee, the best, you're just trying to be all of these things. The problem is that internally you are drowning. Like, you're neglecting yourself. You don't even know what you need. You are like, your mind is spinning. And this is another reason I'm doing the free webinar. And I really think that you should be there, is because if this is you, if this podcast episode is resonating with you, run, don't walk. Shoot that registration link in the show notes, okay? Because I really think that this is coming up for a lot of people. And I think that energetically drained feeling is from this facade that on the outside you can hold it all together and on the inside you're crumbling. Like, it doesn't match. And you're like, well, I have to show up. I can't let my kids see me like this. I can't let my significant other see me like this. I can't drop the ball on my job. I can't just quit my job. I have to keep going because life doesn't stop. And that is partially true, right? Which is why I want to equip you with the skills that you're going to need to develop in order to get out of this funk. But also, I really want to bring the awareness to the fact that this is why you're energetically drained, because the way that you're showing up in the world is really a mask compared to how you're feeling on the inside. Okay, so this is an indicator you're showing up as your pseudo self. It's like, I'm just showing up, trying to survive. I don't feel like I'm surviving. In fact, I feel like I'm drowning, but I'm going to hold it together for everybody else because that's what society expects of me. And I've got a million roles and I don't even know where to begin. And basically, I don't ever want to get out of bed. Or I'm constantly overcommitting my time because I, need to keep myself busy to keep from sinking into like a deep, dark hole. Okay, so it goes both ways. Another way to know if you're in your pseudo self is if you're afraid of what others may say So if you're not showing up as you because you're afraid of what another person might say or do, then you're showing up as your pseudo self. So that would be like me deciding I'm not going to send out, like last week, I sent out an email every single day for, people who maybe don't read their emails every day to know about the webinar that's coming up. And if I would have been worried about people who unsubscribe because they're annoyed that they're seeing my name pop up every day, or they're seeing a Facebook post or an Instagram post or a LinkedIn post, because I've been everywhere trying to shout from the rooftops this webinar that I think is so valuable. If I was in my pseudo self, I would be holding myself back tremendously. I would be like, oh no, they're going to be annoyed. It's going to make my followers go away. I can't possibly do that. And so I've really had to step even into my solid self as a business owner. Sometimes my pseudo self still tries to come up and be sneaky, but for the most part, I've got my pseudo self kind of under control. You will also feel the need to hold back. So that is like restricting yourself from your truth or from what you want to say, from how you're showing up, because again, you're afraid of the repercussions of being yourself. You're afraid of other people's emotions, how they will feel, what they will think. And in turn, what you're really saying is I'm afraid of my own emotions and how well or not well I'll be able to deal with my own feelings when they're disappointed in me, when they're angry with me, when they're annoyed with me. Okay, that kind of stuff. Another way you will know if you're in your pseudo self is if you people please and you hate it. So this is like being super self-aware that you are a people pleaser, but you literally cannot stand the fact that you're people pleasing. It's like, it's the moments whenever, and this is the next one, you say yes when you really mean no. It's in those moments, right? When someone asks you to do something and everything in your body is like, hell no. It reminds me of the episode that I did a while back. It's called Your Soul. I think it's called Your Soul's Hell Yes and Hell No. So you have to go listen to that. But truly, whenever someone asks you to do something and you're like, yeah, I'll do it. And then internally you're like, oh, why did I say that I would do it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I used to be so notorious for this, like telling everybody yes. And even if I had already like 1 million things to do, I would tell people yes. And then, when that day approached and they would be like, hey, are you still coming? I would be like, oh, yes, I'm coming. But I really, really want to back out, and I wouldn't tell them that, of course, but I would like hate my life because it was constantly like, I'm doing everything because I'm just not willing to feel like trash whenever you're mad at me for saying no. Like, that's really what it came down to. Another way to know if you're in your pseudo self is everyone else's needs are placed above your own. The way that this shows up for my clients is I couldn't spend that money on me, right? Like in a consult, for instance, it might be like, I don't spend this kind of money on myself to get coaching. That would just be selfish. Or it's maybe like, I'm not going to go get my nails done. That takes too much time away from my family. Or I'm not going to go get the massage. That's money and time that I could spend on, somebody else who needs it. And so if you're constantly putting yourself last, which women do a lot, mamas, I'm talking to you, wives, I'm talking to you, men do it too. So it's not just women, but women do this a lot where you do not accept the feeling of guilt. And I want to let you know that guilt is not a bad emotion to feel. It's uncomfortable to feel, but it is not a bad emotion to feel. Okay, there is no such thing as good and bad emotions. There's just emotions that feel a little more uncomfortable in our body and emotions that feel good in our body. And a lot of times when it comes to doing the things that will help you, your brain will offer a lot of negative thoughts to keep you kind of in this negative emotional state, okay? Another way is you'd be happy as a recluse because at least then you can be yourself. So that's another way to know if you're in your pseudo self. You'd be happy as a recluse because at least then you can be yourself, meaning that you would rather retreat, never talk to anybody, stay at home all the time, because then you don't have to like show up in an energy that's exhausting for you. So that goes back to that energetically drained, right? If you are like, oh God, if I go to that event or that party or around all of those people, that means I have to be on, and I really don't feel on right now. It's like if your significant other comes home and they're like, hey, we're going to go to the corporate work party. And you're like battling yourself, and you're battling like your own mind and your emotions and your life. And you're just like, oh my God, do we have to go? And your significant other is like, yeah, we have to go. And it's like pulling teeth to get you out of the door. And then you get to the event and you're smiling and everything looks great on the outside, and you're shaking hands and you're hugging and it's amazing. Not really, like internally you're kind of drowning, but on the outside, everyone would think, oh my gosh, they're fantastic. They're great. I bet their life's fantastic. And then you get in the car and you're like, oh my God, that was freaking exhausting. I would have just rather stayed home. It's because you're in your pseudo self. Like you didn't want to go. It didn't feel good. You're battling your own mind. You're not taking care of yourself first. Therefore, you have no energy to give everybody else. And yet you're giving it because you feel like there's an expectation to, and it doesn't feel good. And it pushes you further away from your solid self. Okay. The last one is you worry if you said and did all the quote unquote right things. So how many people listening to this podcast are like, I need to make sure I'm doing everything right. I need to make sure, did I say that right? Do you think that I said that wrong? Do you think that they're offended? Do you think that they're thinking bad or poorly of me? Like, I wonder, right? And this is like where our brain goes crazy, wondering if we did everything right. So if your brain is wondering about if you did everything right and it's really perseverating on that, then you're showing up as your pseudo self, okay? Because at the end of the day, you're either showing up in your authentic truth, content with who you are, very confident in who you are, to where it doesn't matter what anybody else is saying or thinking, okay? So if it does matter to you, and if you're showing up in any of the ways that I just mentioned, you're showing up in your pseudo self. And that is why you're feeling the way you're feeling, okay? Because that is not who you're meant to be. That's not how we're meant to show up as humans, as a spirit, as a soul, right? We're meant to show up and be very authentic in our truth. So when you're not, you're going to feel burnt out. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel depleted. You're going to feel, kind of lonely in a world surrounded by tons, millions and billions of people, right? Trillions, I don't know. But it will feel like you're in the middle of an island by yourself and just, screaming at the top of your lungs because you're not showing up as you, not as your truest self. And here's what I want you to know. When you leave a group or environment and you're wondering if you did everything right, it truly is that pseudo self, and it's exhausting because it's autopilot version of us. It's just going with the motions. And it's I like to call it the smile and it'll be over soon version of you. I used to do this so much. Truly, like walking to college, sitting in college classes, like my life was seriously on fire behind me. And I think I said this a few episodes ago, maybe last episode. It was like I had a water gun and I was trying to put the fire out, just this engulfing fire, okay, out with this little tiny dollar store water gun. And it was the whole smile and it'll be over soon. It's going to eventually go away. So just smile and pretend everything's good and don't let anybody, see the true stuff going on. It'll all be over soon. And it was exhausting. It was so exhausting. Sometimes I think back because that was before personal development. I was actually at the start, maybe midway through of personal development. It was way before coaching. And I just think sometimes I don't even know how I survived that time period of my life. If you truly knew everything that was going on during my year of 2013, 2014, 2015, I seriously sometimes am how did I make it through that? Truly okay. And I think it was partly being introduced to personal development. It was having really good people in my life that I met in grad school that held me up. It was the fact that I did force myself to take care of myself in some way. My sister and I would go to the gym every single night. And granted, we probably overdid it. We would stay sometimes 2-3 hours. So I was definitely buffering at times with it. But I think the combination of those things really kept me sane until I learned more tools in hiring my coach a few years later, because I hired my coach in 2016. That's the very first time that I ever, worked with a coach. And that changed my world completely, to know that no matter what is happening in life on the outside, I've got my back on the inside. And that was really a huge, game changer for me in my life. So here's what I want to say. Our solid self is super empowering. So it is the version of us that's like, what you see is what you get 100% of the time. And there's no confusion about that. You truly get to be yourself, and you feel very liberated in doing so. Sometimes that means you'll lose people because you're basically a peach, and not everyone in the world likes peaches. And that's the truth. But as your solid self, instead of, trying to be an apple when you're a peach, you just show up as the peach that you are. That's truly what it is, right? Like, you're never going to make someone like, peaches if they don't like peaches. Okay? And so pretending to be an apple so that they're not upset is, maybe fine for a while, but it's exhausting for you, because really you're a peach. You're not an apple. Okay. So just be you. That solid self is you, embodying who you are 100% of the time. And believe it or not, being our solid self does take practice. It takes a good stripping down of everything that you think you need to be and why you think you need to be those things. And it requires you to, eliminate all of your limiting beliefs and fully become aware of who you are and who you want to be. So it's highest self-work to the utmost degree. And you have to believe you're worthy simply because you are, not because of proving anything, not because of anything external. Like, you have to believe you're totally worthy on the inside. And again, you have to embody that 100% of the time, no matter what. And when you're embodying your solid self truthfully at your core, it will mean you're going to rock some boats. Okay? There will be things that I say that will make people unsubscribe to my work. There will be things that I say that will make people pissed, right? And they might unfollow. They might even send me some hateful messages one day. I've not gotten that yet, but some people do that. I might get backlash on social media. I've gotten some of that a little bit here and there from strangers who don't know me personally or my work personally, but they see one thing and it totally pisses them off because they disagree. Right? So you're going to rock some boats. And what I have learned in being and stepping into more and more my solid self is I can't let that stop me from my overall mission. And my overall mission is helping you guys that want to be here. Like, that is my mission. So if that means rocking the boat to change someone's life and getting some backlash, some mean comments, being unsubscribed, unfollowed, someone, no longer listening to the podcast, being mean or whatever, then that's what it means. But as my solid self, it means I also choose to deal with the emotions and go forward anyways. Okay. Sometimes it also means people won't like you and your truth. But on the other side of that is a liberated you, which is so freaking powerful, because that means like I get to show up as exactly who I am, and I don't have to pretend. And when you don't have to pretend anymore, oh my gosh, that is so empowering, not to have to show up to your life pretending. That's what will keep you out of depression, right? Keep you out of a lot of the anxiety, because I truly believe that a lot of the depression, anxiety, negative emotions that we are navigating in life are due to the masks that we're wearing, the way we're showing up on the outside, and the work we're neglecting on the inside. You have to be willing to lean into that work on the inside in order to change your life. Okay? So that is today's episode. Again, if you're listening to this today, it's not too late for you to go and register, or at least get on my list for my upcoming webinar this Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. All the details are going to go out via email. It is called 5 Skills for Winning the War Against Yourself. How to know if you should show up, and make sure you show up, or at least mark your calendar to make sure you watch the replay before it goes away. Okay, is if you're like, I listen to all the podcasts, I intellectually know what you're talking about, but I'm not doing much. I don't know what to do with the information. I know what I need to be doing in my life, but I can't get myself to do it. I'm not motivated. I'm uninspired. I'm, seeing my life look the same year after year after year. I want something different from my life, but I really don't even know where to begin. I don't know up from down, left from right. Like truly anything you're battling in your mind. Okay, I'm going to show you the 5 skills that you need to master to overcome this. I'm going to teach you a concept, and then I'm going to talk about, ways that I can help you if it's something that you're interested in. Okay, so I hope that you'll join me. Click the link in the show notes to, get on that list. Make sure you open your emails. Don't hate me for all of the people who do check your emails, because they're going to go out rapidly. Almost, I think, every single day for the people who don't. Okay, so if you don't want to see them, just ignore them. If you get your information, save your information and don't worry about the rest. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I will see you on the webinar. I'm so excited. It's my first time doing it this way. And tonight, actually, really quick before we get off, my husband, his degree, like his bachelor's degree, was in journalism with a minor in economics. And so he knows how to do like all the lighting and production and stuff. If you could see my office right now, it literally has all of the like studio lighting equipment that he has. And he was helping me set it all up. And we were doing mic checks. Like I literally felt like I was getting ready to be on the news, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go. We're doing, like making sure the video is crisp and making sure it's going to be the best experience for you. I am nervous because I've never done it this way. I usually just do my, trainings in a Facebook group. And so this is much more official and I'm excited about that, but there's a little bit of nervousness as well. But all in all, I know that if you show up, you will get so much out of it, and I'm just really excited to see you there. So make sure you go get on the list. If you need anything, message me on social media, and I will see you Thursday. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at macierenaecoaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macierenae.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macierenae.com anytime you want, so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.